Good day, students. Welcome to mathgotserved.com. In this clip, we're going to be going over how to simplify radicals. Alright, before we get started, let's take a look at the formula for simplifying radicals. So the formula is as follows. If you take the nth root of x to the n, your result is simply going to be x. Okay? So just to show you why that's the case, let's do a real quick proof using the properties of exponents. So if you have the nth root of x to the n, this root can be written using rational exponents. The nth root of x to the n can be written as x to the n raised to the, you write the index as a reciprocal power, 1 over n. Okay? Now you can now use the power of a power property of exponents to rewrite this as x to the n times 1 over n. And what happens? The n's divide out, and you have x to the first power, which is just x. Okay? So this is the formula that we're going to be using to simplify radicals. Now let's take a look at some examples. The task is to simplify the following. Simplify the following radical expressions. Problem number 1. Let's say you have the radical, the square root of 24ab. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. So if you have the square root of 24ab and you want to simplify that, the first thing we want to determine is what the index is. Okay, so for the square root, just as the word square indicates, we know square is the second power, so the square root is the second root, so there's a 2 here. So what does that mean? That basically means that every factor that repeats itself, when you take the square root of that, you just end up with one of the factor that has an identical factor. Okay? So we're going to be looking for pairs here, pairs of identical factors, so we can take their square root. To do that, we're going to decompose the radicand completely. So let's decompose 24 into a product of primes. So we can take out 2. 2 goes into 24 because we know it's even. 2 goes into 24 12 times. And then we decompose 12. 2 goes into 12 6 times. And then decompose 6. 2 goes into 6 3 times. Alright, so the prime factor decomposition of 24 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And then we can tack on the A times B. Alright, so what we're looking for here is pairs of identical factors. So we have 2 2's here. So that's 2 times 2. Now what is the square root of 2 times 2, or the square root of 2 square? If you take the square root of 2 times 2, or 2 square, is simply going to be 2. Okay? Now let's look at the other factors. 2 is by itself, so it can't come out of the radical. Remains a radicand. Same applies to 3, same applies to A, and same applies to B. Okay? So these 2's, since they repeat, you can take the square root of that, which gives you 2. Everything else doesn't repeat, so it stays as it is in the radicand place. So the square root of 24ab becomes the 2 that came out as the square root of 2 times 2 times the square root of, now you just multiply everything you have left, 2 times 3 times A times B. So the final answer is going to be 2 times the square root of 6ab, and that is the simplified form of the original radical, root 24ab. All right, let's go ahead and try another example. Let's look at the fourth root example now, number 2. Now, what if you were asked to simplify the fourth root of 32 ab to the fifth? Okay, let's go ahead and do it. So as you can see here, we're looking for the fourth root of 32 ab to the fifth. The index is 4. Okay, so that's the index right here. The index is 4, which basically means that if a factor repeats itself 4 times, then we can take the fourth root of that, and that just becomes one of the factors. Okay, so let's decompose the radicand into factors. So if we want to factor 32, we can take out 2. 2 goes into 32 16 times. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. And then 2 goes into 4 2 times. So it's 2 times 2 times 2, 5 2's, times a times we have b to the fifth power. So 5b's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alrighty, now let's simplify. What we're looking for is identical factors that repeat themselves 4 times, because that's the index. And when we take the fourth root of a fourth power, it cancels out and we're just left with one of those factors. So here, if you notice, we have 5 2's, so we can take out 4 of them. So this 4 2's is 2 to the fourth power. Okay? So what is the fourth root of 2 to the fourth power? The fourth root of 2 to the fourth power is simply 2. This 2 is by itself, so it stays behind. This a is just by itself. Now look at the b's. There are 5 of them, so we can take 4 out of there. 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the fourth root of b to the fourth power? The fourth root of b to the fourth power is just b, just as we did the fourth root of 2 to the fourth power is 2. Let me just show you the work on the side here. So if you take the fourth root of 2 to the 4, that's just 2, and then the fourth root of b to the fourth, that's just b. Okay? Now, our final answer is as follows. The fourth root of 32 ab to the fifth is, now 2 and b come out, so we have 2b times the fifth root of 2 and a remain behind, 2a. And oh, we also have a b here. Let's not forget that. This b is by itself. It doesn't have, it's not, there are not 4 of them, so it can't break out. So the b stays behind. So we have 2b times the fourth root of 2ab as the answer to question number 2. All right, let's take a look at question 3. So for question 3, we have, what if we are to simplify the third root of 16u to the sixth v to the third? Let's try this one. All right, so for this particular problem, the third root of 16u to the sixth v to the third, the index is 3. So every factor that repeats itself 3 times can come out as 1. All right, so let's go ahead and decompose everything that we have here, starting with 16. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. And then 2 times 2 is 4. Now for the variables, we have u 6 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then v 3 times, 1, 2, 3. All right, so since the index is 3, we are going to be looking for factors that repeat themselves 3 times, okay? So we have 3 2's here. What is the cube root or third root of 2 times 2 times 2? The cube root or third root of 2 times 2 times 2 or 2 to the third is simply 2. Okay? And then for the u's, we have 3 u's here. The cube root of u times u is just u. And then we have another set of 3 u's here. The cube root of that, u to the third, is another u. And then v times v times v, the cube root of that is v. Okay? Now this 2 doesn't have any partner to break out with. It just stays behind as a radicand component. So final answer, the cube root of 16 u to the 6th v to the 3rd is 2 times u times v. These three numbers that repeated themselves 3 times in their prime factor decomposition. So 2 times u times v times the cube root of what stays behind, which is just 2. Okay? And then when we simplify this, our final result is going to be 2 u to the 2nd power v times the cube root of 2. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the simplified form of problem number 3. Alright, let's take a look at one last example, question number 4. Now what if we are to find the 5th root of 96, x to the 5th, y to the 4th? Okay, let's go ahead and try this out. Now for this one, we have the 5th root of 96, x to the 5th, y to the 4th. The index here is 5, so every factor that repeats itself 5 times can be taken out of the radicand as one of the factors. Okay, so to get us started, we're going to decompose 96 completely. So 2, since 96 is even, 2 goes in there, 2 goes into 96. Or you know what, let's take out 3 first. If you add the 2 digits, 9 plus 6, it's 9 plus 6 is 15. 3 goes into 15, so 3 goes into 96, okay? So 3 goes into 96 32 times. And we know that 32 is 2 to the 5th power, right? So let me just show you the work. So 2 goes into 32, 16, 2 goes into 16, 8, 2 goes into 8, 4, and 4 breaks into 2 times 2. Okay? And then we have 5x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5x to the 5th, and 4y's, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we are taking the 5th root now. So any factor that repeats itself 5 times, we just take one of the factors as a 5th root. And if any factor doesn't meet that criteria, if it's less than that, it stays behind. Okay, so we have 2, 2, 2, 2, that's 5 2's. So the question is, what is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2? 2 multiplied by itself 5 times. If you take the 5th root of that, this comes out as 2. Okay? Because we're taking the 5th root. And then the x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. What is the 5th root of x to the 5th power? Or x times x times x times x times x. The 5th root of that is just x. For the y's, there's only 4. It's not big enough. So this entire situation, it stays behind. And then the 3 is just one of them. We need at least 5 in order for it to break out, okay? Alright, so that shows us what our answer is going to look like. Let's go ahead and write it down. The 5th root of the fifth root of 96, x to the fifth, y to the fourth is going to be, so 2 and x are the only numbers that came out. So we have 2x times the fifth root of what stays behind, which is 3, and then y times y times y times y, y to the fourth. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your final answer. So how well did you master the examples that we just went over? To demonstrate mastery, we'd like you to try out these problems. Instructions are the same. You're to simplify the given radical expressions. So let's try out these problems. Number one, what if you have the fourth root of 405 a to the 7b? Number two, what if you have the square root of 512 ab to the fourth? Number three, what if we have the square root of 256 x squared y squared? Number four, what if you have the cube root of negative 108 a to the 7b? 5. What if you have the fifth root of 224 x to the 6th y to the 5th? And then lastly, what if you're to find the fourth root of 648 m to the 4th times n? Okay, go ahead and pause the video and try out these problems. When you're done working on them, go ahead and click play to see what the answers are. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and display the answers. For the first one, the answer is 3a times the fourth root of 5a cubed b. For number two, the answer is 16b squared root 2a. For number three, the answer is 16xy. For number four, the answer is going to be negative 3a squared times the cube root of 4ab. Number 5, the answer is going to be 2xy times the fifth root of 7x. And then the last one, number 6, the answer is 3m times the fourth root of 8n. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. We really appreciate it. If the contents of this tutorial helped you in your studies of the simplification of radical expressions, do give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate your positive feedback. If you have any questions or comments, just place your questions or comments in the comment section below, and we'll be more than glad to respond. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for updates to other tutorials such as this. More tools and support resources can be found at mathgotserved.com. Go ahead and check it out. Thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.